Well, what's up, fam? It's your boy, PJ Maxx, also known as the Joy Hunter. And as you can tell by what's in my hand and what's in the background, we're going to have to talk a little Mopar today. Some people don't even know what Mopar is. When they see the shirt that says Mopar, no car, it's kind of lost to them. So today, after listening to this video, we're going to talk a little bit more, and you're going to know a little bit more about these hot Dodges that people love, especially the Demons and the Hellcats. But there's a lot to come, so let's get into it, shall we? All right, so like I said up top, the origins of the Dodge, Chrysler, and Plymouth brands, collectively known under the umbrella of Mopar, got it now, have roots that date back to the early 20th century. So let's start with Dodge. Now, the Dodge brothers, John and Horace Dodge, initially began as part suppliers for other automobile manufacturers before eventually creating their own vehicles. Dodge became a prominent brand known for its durable trucks and performance-oriented cars. Over the years, it has produced some iconic models like the Charger, and this is the Challenger, but we do have, well, I have all Challengers up here. How about that? And a Plymouth GTX in terms of the old school. But the Chargers, the Challengers, and then the Plymouth GTX is here, but we'll talk a little bit more about Plymouth as well. But everybody knows about the Charger. If you've seen Fast and Furious, you know. If you watch Bullet, the car that Mustang was racing against in Bullet was a Dodge Charger. And of course, if you watch the Dukes of Hazzard, once again, another Charger. So we know the Charger, and here is a plethora of the Challengers. So let's talk a little bit about Chrysler. So Chrysler was founded by Walter Chrysler in 1925. So the Chrysler Corporation brought several brands under its umbrella, including just Chrysler itself, but it brought in Dodge and Plymouth and later brands like Jeep and Eagle. So Chrysler aimed to produce cars that combined luxury with affordability, introducing some innovations such as the Chrysler Airflow and the Hemi V8 engine. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Plymouth. So when you think of the Plymouth, here we go. Let's take a look here real fast. So Plymouth was established just 3 years later in 1928. So the interesting thing about this is this was considered just an entry-level brand once they brought out the Plymouths. Now, it produced a range of vehicles, including sedans and coupes and station wagons. My dad had old town and country Plymouth wagons with the wood grain, so that was pretty cool. I remember that as a kid. And then, of course, Plymouth was then known for its reliability and affordability, which offering cars like Plymouth Barracudas and Road Runners, which would become the Superbird, more on that later. And, of course, the iconic Plymouth Fury. And you guys know that 1958 Fury that was in Christine. Yeah, there's a reason why they picked that. Now, I would say some of the more notable cars in the Dodge line, let's start there first, would be the Charger and the Challenger for obvious reasons. So you see a bunch of Challengers here. I do like that Hot Wheels did this one with the Ram Charger livery on it. So look up Ram Charger. You'll see that that's a pretty big brand in racing and in terms of also bolt-on products you can put on your car to make it stronger, faster, and all that good stuff. All right, so the Chargers gained their popularity because of its performance variants like the Hellcat and the Demon. So we've got that right here in a more modern day version, the Challenger of the SRT Demon and Hellcat. That's where they got that from. That name's been around for a while. It wasn't just something recently created. And again, right here in the black, you see it right there. That's pretty good. Digging that. All right. So the Challenger continues to evoke the muscle car vibes today, so that's why we still see that. And we still see the Charger, although the Charger now is a four-door. Didn't used to be, but it is now. And then we'll see what happens when the e-cars come in, because that might get rid of coupes altogether and sedans. Don't know. But people are saying things. That's what I'm hearing. They're just saying things, man. So in the Chrysler line, you might have heard of the Chrysler 300, and that's out there today. You can see the Chrysler 300 on the roads today. They brought that back, and they've made it a pretty nice sedan. So you can see that in the lineup. So Chrysler was trying to blend more of the luxury style and the performance together, and that's how they created that American sedan that we know as the Chrysler 300 and the 300M today. And of course, we know the V8 engine and upscale features are part of the Chrysler nomenclature. It's just what they do, especially coming up with that Hemi. Now with the Plymouth, digging this, with the Plymouth, you had the Barracuda. And I love the Barracuda. So the Barracuda was basically Plymouth's version of the Dodge Challenger. So if you look at those two cars up close, you'll see they look pretty similar. Well, they're built off the same platform, so it's kind of like Camaro and Firebird when you look at GMs. But the Barracuda is one of my favorite early models, and it's just one of my favorites altogether. And I think now in the new B case or A case, there is a Plymouth Barracuda in there, but I think it's blue with black interior, but I think it is it's a soft top. So there's that. Now, this is one of the early muscle cars that I love in terms of the Barracuda. Whenever I used to see those things on the road, I always dreamed one day I want one of those cars. Now, there are some pretty interesting facts about Mopar, and that is that Mopar is strong in the aftermarket and performance division that provides all the high performance parts and accessories for Chrysler, Dodge, and Plymouth vehicles. This division supports enthusiasts who are looking to upgrade their cars for better performance and customization. My favorite Plymouth is always going to be the Barracuda and the Roadrunner. Now, you also need to know about the Hemi engine. So the Chrysler Hemi engines were known for their hemispherical combustion chambers. So with that, they gained legendary status for their power and performance. These engines were used in various Dodges and Chrysler vehicles. And of course, now it's one of the most iconic engines everybody knows what a Hemi is by now. So with that, Mopar really left a significant mark on the automotive industry, producing iconic cars that continue to be celebrated by enthusiasts and collectors alike for their performance, innovation, the unique design elements, styles, even colors. There are certain colors that only look right on a Dodge but wouldn't look right on other cars. And that's because, Dodge was kind of funky like that. They could do that. Go take a look at some of the pictures. If you look up some of the old 70s Dodges, you'll see those colors like plum crazy and purple. And they just had some great names to go with it as well. Now, I can't not talk about the Plymouth Roadrunner, which was introduced in 1968. That was the year I was born. So the Plymouth Roadrunner was a product of the muscle car era. Just don't get that twisted. It was a time when manufacturers aimed to offer high performance vehicles at relatively affordable prices. So named after the Warner Brothers cartoon character, the Roadrunner symbolized speed and agility. The Roadrunner was designed to be a no-frills, high-performance car. It came with a robust V8 engine and a simplified interior to keep the costs down, making it accessible to a broader audience. The distinctive styling the Roadrunner had was pretty bold. It was very aggressive in appearance. It featured a very unique grille, hood scoops, and often vibrant paint schemes, as I was mentioning earlier, and decals, giving it very much a standout presence on the road. You knew when you saw a Roadrunner. Now, the powerful engine options, initially it was equipped with like a 383 cubic inch V8 engine. Then later on, the Roadrunner offered a larger power point, including the legendary 426 Hemi engine and the 446 pack, delivering incredible power and acceleration. Now, the Roadrunner became an instant hit among muscle car enthusiasts due to its combination of raw power, affordability, and unmistakable style. It represented a philosophy of delivering high performance without excessive luxury or frills. Just give me something, I can bolt something on it, and let's go race that bad boy. Right? And in pop culture reference, the Roadrunner's association with the famous cartoon character contributed to its identity and its reputation for speed. Yeah, if you've never seen the Roadrunner cartoons, you need to check those out. Now, the marketing strategy for Plymouth was to do the campaign for the Roadrunner involved the cartoon bird mascot and a beep beep horn. emphasizing the car's affordability and performance in a very light-hearted manner. But don't sleep. That car was powerful, especially if you got those later engines that came with it. So right when you thought that was cool, enter the Dodge Daytona and the Plymouth Superbird. Now the Dodge Daytona is essentially a Dodge Charger with a different wing, with a wing on it and a cone nose on the front. The Plymouth Superbird is a road runner with the cone front end and the wing in the back. These two cars are iconic and definitely specialized versions of the classic American muscle cars that they resembled. So they were born specifically to dominate NASCAR racing while pushing the boundaries of design and performance in the late 1960s and early 1970s. The Dodge Daytona was introduced in 1969 as a limited edition. It was a high performance variant of the Dodge Charger. Its aerodynamic design, highlighted by a prominent rear wing and a pointed nose cone, aimed to enhance the speed and the stability on NASCAR tracks. Now, the aerodynamic innovations was pretty unique because the Daytona featured that unique nose that pointed down, right? And then for slipperiness in the wind to reduce that wind drag. And then, of course, it had that big tail in the back to help keep that downforce. So the car can keep its rear wheels spinning so that you can get all the traction and get as much power out of those tires as you could. And the engine, of course. Now, the NASCAR dominance is interesting because the Daytona made a significant impact on the NASCAR racing scene, especially with its impressive aerodynamics, which allowed it to achieve higher speeds on the racetrack. It famously secured many victories, including the 1970s Daytona 500. But wait, the Superbird was tearing up stuff too. And it's very similar to the Daytona, but the Superbird was based on, of course, the Roadrunners. I said earlier, it was created specifically to compete in NASCAR, so it adopted some extreme aerodynamic enhancements to push its performance boundaries. Now, kind of a difference between them, just looking at them, is you can tell that the Daytona wing is more upright, and the Superbird wing kind of leans a little bit more. So it's a little bit different. Some say that the Dodge Charger or the Dodge Daytona was a little faster than the Superbird, but Richard Petty drove the hell out of that Superbird and won some races with it. So this Superbird did have that elongated nose, just like the Daytona, and it had the towering rear wing, and all of that was just the way they were showing off to say, look, we can make it faster, quicker, and slippier in the wind. So it was produced in very limited numbers just to meet NASCAR's rules. And then the Superbird is now highly sought after by collectors due to its rarity, unique design, and association with racing history. So kind of the unique facts here is when you think about the Daytona and the Superbird, they were both part of the Aero Wars in NASCAR. That's what they call that, a period when manufacturers competed fiercely just to create the most aerodynamically advanced cars in order to gain an edge on the track. So despite their initial success, changes in NASCAR rules led these cars to being banned from competition, marking the end of their dominance in the sport. So I did mention Richard Petty earlier. He is a legendary figure in NASCAR. He had an iconic association with the Plymouth Superbird that cemented both his and the car's place in racing history. So Richard Petty, known as the King of NASCAR, had an illustrious career. And his achievements with the Plymouth Superbird are legendary. In 1970, he piloted the number 43 Plymouth Superbird to numerous victories, including the prestigious Daytona 500. And you know, Hot Wheels made one. Several different diecast car companies made one. So when you see that, don't sleep on that Richard Petty car. I'm just telling you, especially if it's that Superbird. So Richard Petty's win in 1970's Daytona 500 in that Superbird was a huge, significant historical moment. Not only for him, but also for the Superbird itself. It showcased the car's incredible speed, handling, and solidified its place in racing lore. There you go. There's some cool Mopar madness. Now, obviously, there's a ton more about Mopar, but we can get into that. We'll have plenty of time to talk even further, but I thought you'd like to at least get this and have this, and I tried to keep this as short as I could because I could go on forever and ever on Mopar, for real. So, at any rate, hey guys, thank you for watching. If you're still watching to this point, and you haven't subscribed, hey, I would go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. You get to join the community. You get to find out about more and more interesting diecasts and automotive history here, because I love to talk about all of that stuff and share it with you. So, are you in the hobby? Are you collecting Hot Wheels already now? Have you gotten into it? Well, let me just tell you this. While you're doing this, here's what you might want to keep in mind. Just collect what you love and love what you collect, and you will have fun in this hobby.